Hello,
Hello.
everyone. This is Grandma Mo, and we're doing a new thing here today with my childhood friend, Lisa D from CT and Grandma Mo. And we are the East Coast to the West Coast, and we both love
East
hoops,
Coast.
and we both love uh, having fun talking to each other. So
That's
we're going to
right.
have a discussion on the a couple of the games, a couple of the players, and what we're looking forward to.
Yeah.
So with that, we one of the games we wanted to cover was the Liberty and Vegas. So, Lise, what'd you think?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I can't believe I actually, since the start of the season on the 16th, sat through 10 freaking games of bounce the basketball. I mean, it was a lot of action. You and
There
I have
was.
discussed about, oh my God, you can't cover all the games. You got to be able to pick two games and just go with that because it's just too much. Now, I enjoyed the Liberty game. It was kind of weird seeing the Liberty play the Aces, who were the champs, but now had to watch them get their rings and the banner raised. That had
Yep.
to sting. That had to sting just a little bit. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it sure did.
But I personally, not their best outing as far as the Aces go. I think Liberty were on point. Cloud was outstanding.
Yes,
I mean,
agreed.
SQ, she was, I don't know, she didn't hit her spot yet, but she'll get there. And I think all in all, they had a great game. Aces did not. How about you?
Yeah, I rewatched it this morning before we got together, and Jackie Young was keeping them in that game. Jackie Young and Asia Wilson. And when I first watched the game, I thought that the Liberty had won by more, but the truth was is that the Aces were hanging in there.
They
And even
were.
though like Jewel Lloyd was almost, you almost didn't even notice her on the floor. But
Yeah,
Jackie Young was hitting a lot of threes.
she's
She
pretty
was,
quiet.
yeah,
Yeah,
she
she's pretty
was.
quiet so
Yeah, that's
far.
going to be a weird thing for her because she's going from being the leading scorer on the Seattle team to being, just another one of the aces.
Well,
But
that's the beauty of this league this year is that there's so many changes.
yep,
There's just so many changes on teams that you can't really pick a bad team.
yeah,
Now at the New York game, right? Over 17,000 people were in attendance.
yep,
How could you cry at that? That's
yeah,
awesome,
yeah,
for women's sports. Great to see them expand so well.
yeah. It is. It
Yeah,
is.
I enjoyed
Um,
every ounce of it.
oh yeah, and then Kennedy Burke and Sabali. How do you say her first name? Ne-
Oh,
Sabali's Nira. It's something.
I, everybody got to have a name I can't pronounce.
I
I have a
know.
hard enough time with my own damn name. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. That's why I go with the last names. It's like old school, like back in the
I
day,
know,
like
like
we all
Sue
did.
and
We
Sue and
call people
Lisa
by their last
again.
names. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's crazy. I thought
Yeah.
that, like, I thought the Aces, in that particular game, it was lack of communication. They were getting the ball low to Asia. It was just, it was a bad outing for them. I know Gray was pissed. She kept
Yeah, she
yelling,
didn't look
"Let's
good at
talk,
all.
let's communicate." And
Yeah,
I was glad to see her start because she had an injury start last year. But
right.
they're good. They're a good team. It's going to take a
Yeah, they'll
while.
figure it out. They'll
Yeah,
figure
for
it
everybody. I'm not crying. You know what I'm saying?
out.
I'm not crying yet.
Yeah. They'll be in it when the time comes, unless it's
Exactly.
a major
Yeah,
injury.
yeah. What did you think about Cloud? I was so glad she was in New York.
Oh my God. I thought that was the best pickup of the season.
Yeah,
She's such a good point guard and
she
she's so
is.
good on defense and
Yeah,
she's relentless. She's
yeah.
relentless. She
I
had
know.
22 points. She had 22 points and shot 47% from the field, had 9 assists
It's
in that.
crazy.
Yeah.
I
She's
know.
a nice.
I was looking at the stats too, and I was like, "Holy cow!" I mean, for her first, outing with them, I was like, she got two quick fouls on somebody in the fourth, and
Yep.
I'm like, "Ooh, that's gotta,
Yep.
that's gotta tick off New York. Yeah, I mean, aces.
Yeah.
That she can, antagonize fouls so quickly. But
Right.
she's good. She's a great player.
Yeah, she is.
I thought Jewel
Um,
Lloyd. I thought Jewel Lloyd struggled in that game.
yeah, she did. She
Yeah,
did. You didn't like. I was like, oh, there's Jewel Lloyd.
yeah,
Like saw her by her number, and I don't know if I mean if she did score, she only scored like once or twice. It
yeah.
wasn't noticeable.
No, at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So the other game that we both agreed on was the Mystics, who are the surprise team of this season so far,
They're looking
and the
good.
Connecticut Sun, and they've been a surprise too. So, what do you think of that game?
Which game? Mystics in Atlanta
No,
or
Sun.
Connecticut? Against the Sun. Against the Sun, I actually was thinking you were going to go with Atlanta, but you tell
Oh, we
me,
can
and
do
then
that
I'll
one.
figure out which game. No, go ahead.
Well, the Mystics and the Sun, that was like a back and forth. Connecticut went out to an early lead, and then the Mystics came
That's
back.
right. That's when everybody got in foul trouble.
Yes.
See, it took me a second. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was a scrappy game.
It was a very scrappy game. Yep.
I liked it. I like scrappy games.
Yeah,
Little
and
blood never
Sonia
hurt anybody.
Citron. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sonia Citron was very noticeable on the court. She's
She
been a
has been in
great
the two
rookie.
games I've seen. She's
Yep.
been awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, these rookies are so polished coming in,
Yeah. She
I
looks
mean,
like a vet. She looks
yeah,
like she
it's
belongs. She's just drives to the hoop unafraid, just goes right in against the bigs, no
that's
problem.
that's what I was going to say. Totally, it just doesn't affect them. I think colleges do such a great job, preparing them for what's ahead. You can't prepare yourself completely, but
Right.
I'm like, you wouldn't know that this girl was a rookie.
Yeah,
You
you
know what I
wouldn't.
mean?
Yep, she's averaging 10 points and shooting 63% from the
Yeah,
field.
that I did see.
Incredible.
Because I was checking her because she was on our list of who to talk to
Yeah.
next, and
Yeah.
I was so I was really she's 6'1", came from Notre Dame. I didn't know she was a third round pick in the draft this year. I had no clue. I
Oh,
really
she's
didn't know
first.
anything.
She was
I
first
had
round.
no a first round pick, third. She went third.
Yeah, she went third. Yep.
Beckers went first. There was such hoopla over Beckers.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever really, her and Juju were like the big,
Yeah.
and
People
so I
talked
don't
about
I
them the
don't think
most.
I
Yeah.
really heard too much about her, but she's awesome. I can't wait to see what she does this year.
Yeah. Hidalgo and Olivia Miles kind of were the, name runners on Notre Dame. And she was kind of the afterthought. And boy, oh boy, she's been terrific. She's
I
just been
like
really solid. Yeah.
I like the Mystics this year, and I can't really, not since probably Elena Deladon have I said I have,
Yeah. And who
yay
was
for
on
the
that team?
Mystics. Huh? You know what I mean? Huh?
Who was on that team?
Who on Deladon team?
Yeah. Natasha
Yeah.
Cloud.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there you go.
She's part of
Uh,
that team. Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, but the fact it's like playing chess. Everybody's slowly moving and figuring out what they're
Right.
supposed to do. And it ought to
Right.
be exciting this year. What are you
Right.
watching tonight? What game are you watching tonight?
Yeah, we have there's three games. I thought there was only two, but I looked that
I'm
there's
doing
three. You
Dallas.
have
You got
Dallas.
You got Valkyries tonight. Your team
Yeah,
is
the
on tonight.
Valkyries are playing tonight. And then
Yeah.
let me see
Can't
here.
wait to see your review. I'm gonna look for that
Oh,
tomorrow.
yeah, we'll see. There's not, I only have one game to go on, and then they're playing the Mystics.
Yeah,
So we have
there you go.
yeah, you have
That's a
Dallas and
great game.
Minnesota. Dallas and Minnesota, 3 hours and 42 minutes away. And then we have Washington and the Valkyries, and that place is going to be rocking. They call it Ball Holla. I think they
Yeah,
just say Ball Holla.
yeah,
And I think it's something from the Warriors. I've got to research that. I'm not exactly sure how that came about, but everybody loves it around here. And
yeah,
then you have the Sparks and the Mercury. That's probably going to be a really good game. That's on the same time as the Valkyries and the Mystics.
yeah.
But
Well,
the Mystics have played two games already, and now
they have.
they're going cross country to play the Valkyries, and the Valkyries have only played one game, and they've been off for a little bit here.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's going to be interesting.
This is your shining moment. This is your shining. Well, one team will be rested, the other one will be exhausted, but that's okay.
Yeah.
They'll all show up and play. You know
Yeah,
what I
they
mean?
will. Oh,
As
geez.
long as somebody, hey, it's all right. It's the dogs. Dogs
Yeah.
just want to have fun. The what was I gonna say? What are you looking forward to on the Valkyries? Who are you looking forward to see playing tonight?
Um, well, the matchups are intriguing me, like just preliminarily. The matchups between who's going to cover Citron,
Yeah.
who's going to cover Iriafin. Iriafin. Um, I'm figuring that Monique Billings and Kayla Thornton are going to handle Iriafin. And then, Citron probably, I'm guessing Tiffany Hayes is going to cover her. And then you have Burton and you have Van Loo. Van Loo played for the Mystics last year, so she's going to know them. I mean, not that they're the same team anymore, but she did play with some of those players.
Yeah.
She's really exciting. I like Julie Van Loo. She hit like 3 3-pointers. And then there was like an inbounds play with like 1 second left in their game. And it was just like, got it to her and she just threw it up off the backboard, bank in. The crowd went wild among, other times too. But she's pretty exciting.
The last game too, which tonight, we were talking the other night about Dolson, and Jesus, like in the stretch, she's just like bing with the threes.
Yeah,
I'm like,
she's a
holy
good three-point shooter.
Yeah. She's a
Yep.
big girl. I had looked up what my mother's always like, how tall are they? How much do they weigh? I'm like, don't worry about it. They're a wall. And if you hit them, you're going to go down. That's just it. You know what I mean? But I mean, there's not a lot of bigs, although Jonquel Jones can do that. But I mean, that can really shoot a really good three and rely upon it. She hit some at the end of the game. And I'm like, look at her go.
Yeah.
So I wrote it down. She's 6'5", 235 pounds.
Yeah. She's a big girl.
I mean, to run up and down.
Yeah.
You don't want to run into that. You don't want to run into that pick.
Yeah.
I'd be on
my. You don't want to run into her.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like Paige did at the other game. She ping pong, then pinballed her way through it. They're learning. So then we went for the games. Then we went to, because I know you love Citron. Hit it. Tell me what you like the best about, you were talking this week. You said 6 to 7, 6-7 shooting from the field. Like I said, a lot of attentions went to Beckers. I wish that they had concentrated on her a little bit more, because I'm impressed with her play.
Yeah, for me, it's the eye test. I don't usually pay attention to stats. Like, I mean, just like the New York game, like, Breanna Stewart was just playing her game. She had 25 points. Like,
yeah, I know she's had the highest. Yeah,
I didn't even like. Oh my goodness, she was. But you didn't notice that because she Breanna Stewart is so in the flow of her game, and that's what I notice about Citron. She lets the game come to her. She's not forcing it. You see that with certain players where they'll just take the ball and like. No one wants to see someone dribble the ball down and just shoot it, you know? And they work the ball around and someone gets an open lane to drive to the hoop or they get an open shot and they take it. Yeah. And that is always, it's much nicer to see. And Citron plays that way. And she doesn't look frazzled at all. She doesn't look overwhelmed. She just is going out there and playing just like she would have in college.
I know.
And it's awesome. Really impressive to see. And she looks like she's having fun and she's doing really well. I mean, that's
not
what I see. And
right? How could you not? You got really close back in the day to be able to play. I mean, imagine if I was like, well, no. I mean, I certainly would have tried out. I think at tops, as you get older, you start shrinking. I said that's so they could fit you right in the urn. But anyway, I mean, at tops, I was like 5'8", which you could play in the league, but that's kind of small nowadays.
Nowadays everybody's over 6 feet. There's a few people, like Dana Evans is 5'6", and that's what I was. I was 5'6", but I wasn't like the players that I played against in camps and stuff that were, if there was a WNBA at that time, they were fat. Like if we had to run from one end of the court to the other, oh my God, they'd blow by me. But half court, I was quick enough to stay with them, and I could defend, and I was a decent shooter, but we were also playing with the big ball and we were playing with no 3-point line.
Exactly.
Not that, but that's all we knew. So
you played like outside and stuff like that. These girls are like, the training facilities that they have and what they go through. I think Paige Beckers even has like a chip in her shoe that actually shows the, the calories burned and all the other stuff and steps that she makes. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah. And they were doing something like that in Unrivaled. They had a thing. People were questioning this thing on their shorts. there's like this piece on the
Yeah.
back of the shorts, and it tracks their every movement.
Yep.
Oh my God, things have come a long way since
Yeah. Imagine that.
shooting
We
outside
had
of a
that.
schoolyard hoop. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Oh, I did want to mention there was one touching moment uh this week that in Connecticut versus the Aces, and the Aces, they just destroyed them. But
Yeah.
hopefully, we'll see what happens. They're rearranging their whole team, and I love Tina Charles.
Yep.
And she
Agreed.
repped Asia Wilson. She wore her sneakers, the
Oh wow.
A1s during the entire game, and then she had her sign them at the end, and they switched sneakers and stuff. I'm like, that's so
Oh, that's
cool.
cool. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I'm like,
Oh,
that's really,
that's cool.
not that Asia was like, "Ah, I thought that was really great. She's a
Yeah.
good representative for the league, but there's going to be another up and coming,
Yep. They're all
star,
coming for.
you know, but
Okay, so go ahead.
no, go right ahead. What's your next
Okay, so
player?
we talked about having like a flop of the week. So, um, like the what game was the
What
worst
game?
game, or an incident, or
Yeah,
something
or
like.
something you were surprised about. I have mine. My flop of the week has been Dallas.
Yeah,
They need to, I like I said, they need to get their crap together. And I mean, they on paper they look
yeah,
freaking awesome.
yeah. They do.
But then they get to
They're
play,
not
and
playing
it's like,
together.
no, they're not. And spread the floor, and somebody be under there's nobody under the basket.
Yeah,
Enrique's shooting like haymakers. I'm like, I get it. You're a great player. She's probably used to the ball going in, but you know, Paige is really good at passing.
yeah,
And I've been impressed with her, but we'll see what
yeah. She's
happens.
been
It's gonna
solid.
change. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? What are your thoughts on that? What was your flop? What game were
Well,
you like,
my flop. It's not necessarily a flop, but I was
yeah,
thinking
because you
about
know
this.
really what a flop is.
Yeah,
Like,
this isn't a game. It's just something that happened.
yeah.
Um, Ann Myers was given an award by the Kobe Bryant organization.
Yeah.
And the reason I call it a flop is because Ann Myers is almost 70 years old.
Yeah.
I remember her when I was in high school. She was the first one that made it to TV, and then you had Lynette Woodard making the or she went playing with the Globetrotters. And then you had Carol Blazejowski and you had Nancy Lieberman. And
Yeah.
and then that kind of led to Cheryl Miller and the USC teams. And then you had Pat
Cooper.
Summitt,
Yeah.
Tennessee, and Louisiana Tech and Kim Mulkey, and you had, and they just started to put it on TV. But why I'm calling? I mean, she's almost 70. This should have happened like 40 years ago.
No. Well, that's what
Ann
happened.
Myers was a great player, and all the younger people don't know about her, but she was a great player for UCLA, and she tried out for the Pacers, and they gave her like a contract, and everybody was against it, and I just thought it was like, okay, here's like, okay, we're gonna stick a flag here because we're gonna make this a moment, and everybody thought it was a PR stunt, and everybody's bad mouthing it, but I thought
Really?
it was like, okay, cool. And I played from 80 to 84, and I thought, okay, we're going to be close. I'll get to play professional basketball. No, wrong. 13
Yeah.
years later.
I know. I know. And
Yeah.
were you a little pissed when they finally were like, I'm like, oh, geez,
Um,
figures, like story of
I
my
was
life.
I
Too
was
little,
sad.
too late.
I
Yeah,
wasn't mad. I
it's
was
hard.
just sad. I
Yeah.
was just sad that I missed it. And I was too old by then, and I hadn't been playing. If I had
Now
been playing all along, I might have tried out, but I was 35.
I'm
And
just sad I can't even run to the mailbox anymore. Never mind up and down the court. I get tired watching them have to go back and forth. I'm like, holy crap, we used to do that.
yeah, I
Jeez,
know. I
Hey,
remember being able to jump. That
yeah,
was a fun feeling. Yeah.
it's easy. I like this position to be able to just watch the game. There's
Yeah.
no
And no
sweat
effort
involved.
involved.
There is one other flop though. I have to say, Jesus, the amount of fouls this week were
Yeah.
ridiculous. I mean, either they gotta take the peas out of the whistles and let
Yeah.
them play,
Right.
but my God, that was that was
Right.
just brutal. And
Right.
who do you want to watch? It's got to be Valkyries. Who do you want
Yeah.
to?
Well, the
What's your
Valkyries,
game?
I'm trying to focus on the Valkyries because they're a new team, and I mean, still live like 4 hours away, but it's still the closest thing I have to a team. And
Yeah,
it's just been
to
so
cheer them
nice
on.
that it's finally here, and the crowds are amazing. I mean, they got 18,000 plus at the Chase Center, and everybody's loving it. And I will just love it if I don't know how many games they're going to win, but they're going to hustle. They're going to try really hard, and they're going to be in most games. I mean, they probably will get blown out by a team here and there, but I don't think that's going to be too often because they're a group of, and they have a good bench. And they just got that player who won MVP of the Italian League.
Yeah,
Janelle, I think it's Saloon or Salon.
I
I
think
don't
it's Salon.
know. Another one with
I
the
don't. Here we go. Another one. Can we have a
But she's going to
nickname?
be,
Something.
yeah, I looked and she's going to be out for tonight's game. And then I can't wait for Zandalasini and Stephanie Talbert to be able to play. They're both out. They have injuries. So, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the Valkyries.
Yeah.
But what game are you looking like before
I'm
we
watching.
record?
I'm going to watch Minnesota tonight because
Yeah,
my friend Courtney Williams. They look awesome anyway.
yeah, they
I
do.
mean, they just
They
look like
do.
such an incredible unit. Like they just play so well together.
They
But
do.
again, they really haven't. They haven't had too many huge changes.
Yeah,
Where a
they're
lot of these
basically the
other
same
teams
team.
have. Yeah, so they're like, yeah, okay, we've done
Yeah,
this before. Let's go again. And their coach is really hard on them, which I love you
yeah,
know I mean,
yeah.
she tells it straight. She was busting them on Courtney, like, I don't know how many freaking turnovers you had during the preseason. It was a lot. So her very first game, she was like, they kept putting zero turnovers, because the
Yeah,
coach said that. I'm
yeah.
like, yeah.
Well, you
So
turn over the ball, you're going to lose most of the time. So,
yes,
yeah, that's
so
a good
I
thing
was.
too.
It was a great week, Maureen. That's all we could say. It was a good week for the WNBA.
It
They made a
was.
lot of money.
I was very happy. I was
And
so content to watch all these games, and I rewatched some of them.
it was great to, hey, look, and just from typing back and forth to each other, we reconnected after what, 40 freaking years?
No, I
I
know.
know. We should
I
get an
know.
award for that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'll get it. I'll get an
And we're
award with him.
3,000 miles away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll get an award
Yeah.
with him dead. But she's
Yep.
dead. Thanks.
That's
But
great.
yeah, no, it was great. So it's going to be there's going to be a lot of games coming up, and I'm looking forward, hopefully, to covering it with you. If you're
Yeah. That'd
willing
be
to
great.
stand we'll do the same thing. We'll pick
Yep.
because there's too many games. We'll pick
Yeah,
two
there is.
games, and maybe I'll actually write down the one that you want to go over. Although I did watch them all. And we'll do the same thing. But it was a great
Okay.
week.
Sounds
All
good.
right. All right. So
Okay.
I'll see you next time.
Okay.
All right.